So every single class that you take with me is going to be recorded by me. That way, as soon as class is over, I can post it up on the Google Classroom. And meaning if anybody misses a class or there's anything in class that you want to like go back and review again and spend some more time with, you will be able to do so. And so I do this because a lot of people have told me in the past that they really like having the ability to see the video of the class, especially if they miss it and they're not really sure exactly what kind of information they're supposed to be getting from the notes. So like I said, I posted on the Google Classroom. This guy right here. So hopefully everybody has seen this already. So this is our Google Classroom, our homepage. Looks something like this, where it has the announcements kind of section. Every day, about 5 minutes before class starts, I'll post a reminder in this section. That way, you'll get an email sent straight to you saying, hey, remember, biology class is about to start in a couple minutes. And I include the link down there so that you don't have to go looking for it somewhere else, like on the Google Classroom or somewhere. Every single class that I record, right after class, like usually it's the very first thing I do in like the first 5 to 10 minutes after class, I post up in the class recording section down here. So I'll post it with the date of when the class happened and the main kind of subject that we covered. That way it's fairly easy for you to find later on if you need to. The other main thing that's posted up here already that you may have seen before class even started was I have the syllabus. So syllabus is kind of like a guideline of the different policies and parts of the class. We'll talk about it a little bit kind of towards the end of class today, just because it has a lot of the stuff that we're going to go ahead and go over already. Besides those two sections, all of the different notes and assignments and everything that you need for this class is posted on the Google Classroom and is separated out by weeks. So every single assignment will have the date that we're going to go over it on, whether it's a set of notes or an assignment that you have to do, and then the title of whatever it is. So for example, today's notes are welcome to biology notes, just kind of some general information about the class. And today's assignment that was posted earlier today is sending me an email with your name, the name of this class, Biology B or Bio B, and a question you have about this class or the Excel Center or online classes or whatever it is that you might want to know more about. So I have my email posted in a whole bunch of different areas on the Google Classroom, including on the assignment right here. So shoot me an email with your name, this class, and a question that you have. And that will take care of your very first biology assignment. So with that, we'll go ahead and kind of jump into the little presentation that I want to do with you guys to start off today. I think I just remembered about one thing that I wanted to fix. Yeah, this thing. We're not in term 2 anymore. We're in term 5. And this is not new information, it's old information. Okay. So this is Biology B class. It is 1/2 of the biology credits at the Excel Center that we offer at Biology. Is a really big class with a ton of information to cover, and we cannot do it in one 8-week period. So we split it up into 2. The other one is Biology A. Hopefully a lot of you have taken that already. I know some of you took it with me a couple terms ago. If not, then you'll take it at some point later on in your Excel career, hopefully sometime early next school year. This is the year of 2021. And again, my email is set up just like all of your emails. First name, last name, in my case, michael.stanley@goodwillexcel.org. So email is probably the best way to get in touch with me. Whenever I'm at school, I'm on it pretty much 24/7. I have my little tab left open. I also can check my school email on my phone. So over the weekend and at 11:30 at night, I'm not really checking it. But other than that, I try to check it and get back to people within a 24-hour period of whenever you ask me something. So email is definitely kind of my preferred way of getting in contact with you guys, which is why I like having it be the very first thing you guys do in this class is to send me an email. It kind of gets you ready for that type of communication. So some things that we're gonna talk about today, I'm gonna tell you guys a little bit more about me so that for those of you who don't know, this isn't just some face that's staring at you out of a computer screen. I am a real person, I promise. I wanna get to know a little bit more about some of you guys, just kind of some basic information. And then we're mostly gonna talk about some of our kind of online class policies. So the stuff that you guys need to be doing to make sure that you can be the most successful in this class that you can be. And finally, at the end, we'll talk a little bit about what are some of the things that we're going to be going over in this class. So like I was saying earlier, my name is Michael Stanley. You can call me Mr. Stanley or Mr. Michael or Mr. or Sir is what some people default to. I don't really care. It all works for me. I wasn't born here, but I grew up in Austin. So up in like the North Austin area, like if you know the 620 Anderson Mill kind of area, that is where I spent most of my life. Went to elementary school there, middle school there, went to Westwood High School, if anybody knows where that's at. Graduated from there in 2010 and went to Texas A&M for my bachelor's degree in biology. And then I'm one of those weird people who I finished up 4 years of college and I said, that was a lot of school that I just did. But do you want to know what I want to do now? More school. That sounds awesome. So I ended up going to grad school out of state. I ended up getting accepted to a grad program at Miami University. No, not that one, not the fun one. The Miami that I went to is in Southwest Ohio. You're thinking of the University of Miami, which is completely different from Miami University. Totally different things. One of them is in Florida and is in sunshine and nice weather. The other one is in Ohio and it's in a tiny town surrounded by cornfields. So I was down here in Southwest Ohio. For those of you who don't know your Ohio geography, which I'm assuming is most of you, right like here is where Cincinnati is. So like the Reds baseball team and the Bengals football team, they play down here in Cincinnati. It's a cool city. I visited there a lot. And then my school that I went to was like right up here in this area. So I was up there for several years working on my master's degree, doing biology and animal science type of stuff. After I graduated, I was ready to leave because, as you guys might imagine, it's too cold up there, you guys. Like especially the winter time. It lasts forever, right? Like here we have winter for like a couple weeks in December, January, February, and then we're done. In Ohio, from like late October to mid-March, it's cold, it's gray, it's either drizzling or snowing or sleeting or some combination of the three almost every day. So like if you remember the ice storm that we had a couple weeks ago, that was really nasty. It's not quite that bad because Ohio can deal with snow and ice and stuff better than we can. But think like those type of temperatures, but for like 18 weeks instead of 8 days. So it's too cold over the winter time. I was ready to go back to some sunshine. It wasn't all bad being in Ohio though. I did get my master's degree in biology, which was neat. And I ended up meeting and eventually marrying my current wife there. So we got married in Ohio couple years ago now, 2018. And then I finished up. She's still working on her PhD in microbiology. She's almost done, which we were very excited about. But we both decided that we were ready to move back to Texas. I was ready to get out of Ohio, and she had lived in Ohio for almost her entire life at that point. So she was definitely ready to get out of Ohio. Another reason why we wanted to move back to Texas is be really close to my family, because when we moved, we were expecting our first child. And so little baby Charlotte came along probably about a couple months after we moved down here. She was born in July of 2019. So she's going to be turning 2 this term, or not this term, this summer, which is exciting and slightly terrifying all at the same time. Obviously, she doesn't really look like that anymore. This was from, oh God, almost a year ago now. So we got pictures taken right before her first birthday. And then for a little bit more recent stuff, this was her at Christmas time. We made a novice parent mistake of giving her a good present first, which meant that then she didn't want to open her other presents because she didn't want us to take away her handy dandy notebook that she was very excited about getting. But that was a lot of fun. We spent some time together, went down and visited my parents because we used to live close to them. And so that's kind of what I've been doing up until I started at the Excel Center. I've been here. The end of this term will make it my second school year being here. So I started last school year and then went to the spring, and then the pandemic happened and we did all remote. So we've been doing all remote online this year. Hopefully by next school year, we'll be back to more kind of normal in-person types of school. But that's a little bit more about me for people that don't know. I always like to try and make it so that you guys know some interesting stuff about me, so I'm not just a boring voice and face coming out of your computer screen. So it used to be when we were like all back in person and everybody was in a classroom together, I'd have everybody go around and say your name and how long you've been here and what you don't like doing in school and stuff about animals, because I'm a big animal person. That's what I went into biology for. We're not going to do that now because, don't worry, Brandy, no worries. We're not going to do that now because I don't want to try and figure out going around how you even go around a circle online. It doesn't really work that well. But what I do want to know is how long that you guys have been at the Excel Center. So feel free to either write it down in the chat, or you're more than welcome to unmute yourself and say how long that you've been here. But how long have you been at the Excel Center? Is this your first term? Did you start earlier in the year in January? Did you start at the beginning of the school year? Did you start sometime last year? I want to know. So feel free to either type it in the chat or unmute yourself and share it out loud.
I started a couple of weeks or March the 2nd.
Okay, so you've only been here for like a couple months. Very cool. Very cool. Let's see. Oh, wow. Ashley's also a fairly new one. Day before spring break. So yeah, you've only been here like not even a month yet. Welcome, welcome, Ashley. Thanks for being here. Brandy, yep, I remember I had Brandy in one of my earlier classes this term. So good to see you again, Brandy. I know I recognize Nasima and Samyan I've had in previous classes as well. Samyan, you've been going here for over a year now, I think. Let's see. And the same thing with Victoria. I recognize you from earlier in one of my classes. So welcome back, Victoria. Let's see. I can kind of cheat and call on Kevin since he's right in the room here with me. But Kevin, how long have you been going to the Excel Center?
Well, I've been here for I say like a year and a half, but since COVID started, everything has happened, so I just left. But I'm gonna get myself together again. Just get out the way.
Awesome. So is this your first time like coming back?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, exciting. Very cool. Well, welcome back, Kevin. It's great to see you. And welcome back, everybody who's returning, and especially for fairly new people like Naya and Ashley. It is good to see you guys. So this will be a good review for some of you, and for other people, this will be a really good way to kind of make sure that you're on the right track in terms of all this remote learning. So before we kind of get into the whole online learning aspect of the class, I want to give you guys a little bit of an overview of the class itself, biology. So like I said, biology as a class is kind of split into two separate terms because there's just too much info to go into at once. In this term, we're going to be so biology is all about studying living things. So science is like the world around us, everything from like planets to rocks to ecosystems to like the Earth's core to electricity and stuff. All of that makes up science. Biology specifically is focusing on living things. So plants, animals, bacteria, cells, ecosystems, the ozone, stuff like that. All of that is part of biology. So in this class, we're specifically going to get looking into what are sort of the building blocks for plants and animals. What are they all based on? We're going to look into the reasons that things look different. So even though we're all people, we don't look exactly the same, even though we're the same species. And we especially don't look exactly like dogs and cats or elephants or giraffes. So we're going to talk about why is it that things look different? What are some of the things kind of going down at like the cellular level that make things look different? We're also going to look at how different species have emerged over time, kind of how did we get here in terms of our ancestors and where we came from. And then we're also at the very end going to talk about species that interact with each other and interact with their environment. All right, so the big thing to know about taking classes online and online attendance is the attendance policy. So even though you could be doing great in the class, turn in all your assignments, have a 99% at the end of the year, if you miss too many class days, you will not get credit for the class and you'll have to take it over again in a later term. Nobody wants that. We all want you guys to pass and get credit and do well. So I like to talk about this stuff right at the beginning of class to make sure everybody is on the same page before we get started. So the big thing to remember is that at the Excel Center, we have an 80% attendance policy. That means you have to have completed attendance on 80% of the class days in order to earn credit for the course. If people remember back in the old days, the in-person days, we used to like count minutes and you could make up some of those minutes if you're absent by coming in on a weekend or something. Nowadays, it's just, were you here or were you not here? And there's no way to make it up. AIM is how you used to make up attendance back when we were in person. We don't have that in a virtual world. Either you count it as present or absent for the day, and that is that. So what are the best ways to make sure that you are staying on top of your attendance? One of them is what all you guys are doing right now. So every day that our class is in session, you're expected to come to the Google Meet class or to come in person, like Kevin over here. So for us, that means Tuesdays and Thursdays from 5 p.m. to 6:30, you should be hopping on to this Google Meet class and logging in. That is kind of like the first best way to earn your attendance on those days. So that's Tuesday, Thursday, that's 2 days of the week, but we still have Monday and we still have Wednesday. So on our off meeting days, you're still required to earn attendance on those days. And you can do that by completing your daily assignment. So every single day of the week, Monday through Thursday, you'll have a daily assignment that goes up. The Monday and Wednesday assignments are there so that you can complete them and turn them in and earn your attendance for those days. The Tuesday and Thursday assignments are there as a backup in case you aren't able to come to the Google Meet. So I know there's always stuff going on in everybody's lives. We're all really busy. We have stuff that might impact our ability to come to class. If you can't come to a Google Meet class a couple times, that's okay. I'm not going to sweat about it too much. But you can still earn your attendance on that day by completing a daily assignment that has been posted. If you do come to the Google Meet class, you'll still have to do the daily assignment anyways, because it does count for a grade, but you don't necessarily have to do it on that day. You already got your attendance for coming to the class, so if you do that assignment later on in the week, that's okay. If you don't come to class though, that's how you can earn your attendance on those days, by completing that daily assignment. So as long as you're logging on to the Google Classroom every day and doing those daily assignments, you'll be earning all the attendance that you need and won't have to worry about not having enough to pass at the end of the term. If you are going to be absent, like if something happens, like I had a student, someone recently who had like a car accident and she couldn't be here for a couple days, or unfortunately with COVID these days, there's a lot of like deaths in the family that people are having to deal with. If something serious like that happens, please let your life coach know. Reach out to them and say, hey, I have this thing going on. I'm not going to be able to make it. And they can reach out to your teachers and kind of update us on your situation. So making sure to come to as many of these Google meetings as you can on Tuesdays and Thursdays, plus doing those daily assignments will mean that you're going to be in good shape by the end of the term. So this 80% number, based on how many classes that we have or how many days that we have on this term, that means that you have, I shouldn't say automatically dropped, because that ended up not really happening. This is what I get for not going in and updating it from term to term. You will not earn credit pass. There we go. So you will not earn credit for the class if you have more than 5 absences by the end of the school year. So if we get to the end of the term and you have 6, 7, 8 absences, again, you could have done great in the class, gotten everything at some point turned in, had a 99%. They're still going to deny you credit for the class because they're going to say, sorry, you had too many absences. You did not meet that 80% requirement. So if you miss a day here or there, not a huge deal, not the end of the world. If you miss a lot of days here or there, like say more than 5, that could eventually become a problem. Now there are exceptions of obviously in the case of certain circumstances. You can fill out an attendance appeal at the end of the term if you would have passed, but something in your life happened that prevented you from coming. But the best way to avoid having to deal with that is just by making sure to getting on the Google Classroom, doing your daily assignment, and then coming to our meetings like this on Tuesdays and Thursdays. If you do all that, then you won't even have to worry about this by the end of the term. You can also, if you ever want to check and make sure that you're up to date on your attendance and you're doing well, you can always check on Skyward. So if you're not on Skyward, I would highly recommend getting on it. It has all of your attendance and grade information for each one of your classes. You can reach out to your life coach if you're not on Skyward or having trouble logging in. Or you can always also feel free to email me and be like, hey, Mr. Stanley, I just want to double check what my attendance looks like for this class. And I'll be able to say like, oh, you're doing great. You only have 2 absences so far. If you just keep it up to the end of the term, then you'll still be in good shape. So again, if you're logging on every day, Monday, Wednesday, Tuesday, Thursday, and doing that daily assignment and come into class on Tuesdays and Thursdays, then you'll be all good to go. Just make sure that you're doing something for biology Monday through Thursday, each day of the week. All righty. So say it happens. Something happens in your life and you're absent, you miss class for a day. You're not able to log on or do any work during the day. Again, that's okay. Once or twice that happening, not a big deal, not the end of the world. However, I'm not going to email you and saying, "Oh, Kevin, I saw that you weren't in class today. Here's all the information, here's all the material that you need to make up." All of it is posted on the Google Classroom. So if you go and check on the day that you were absent, you'll be able to see if there are any notes posted for that day and what the daily assignment was on that day. But that is up to you guys to do if you do miss a class as we're going through the next 8 weeks. So most assignments have a due date on them of the same day they're assigned. That's just because it makes it easier for me to keep track of who's turning in what and when. It is totally fine, totally okay to turn in an assignment past the due date. Please do that, actually. I want you to turn in as many assignments as you can by the end of the term. Each assignment does count for a grade in the grade book, whether it's just like 1 or 2 points for sending me an email or text message, or 20 or 30 points for completing a midterm. They're all 4 points in the grade book. And so I want you guys to be turning them in. So even if it's a couple days late or even a couple weeks late, I am more than happy to take it, grade it, give it back to you, and you're not going to get any points taken off for turning it in late. There's no like late grade penalty or anything like that. If you get it turned in, I'm happy, I'll accept it and get it back to you. The one thing that I do want to point out though, is that if you do miss an assignment, you can finish it on your own time and turn it in to me, no worries. But it'll only count for attendance on the day that you turn it in. So for example, if something happens on Monday and you miss the daily assignment on Monday, but you turn it in on Wednesday, you'll get Wednesday attendance credit for turning in an assignment on Wednesday. But I'm not going to go back and give you Monday attendance because you didn't do it on Monday. You did it on Wednesday. So you won't get the absence excused or counted off, but you'll have that assignment turned in and I'll be able to give you a grade on it so that it's not a 0 in the grade book. Any grades that or any worksheets or anything like that that don't get turned in by the end of the term go in as a 0 in the grade book. And even a couple of those can really quickly drop your grade from passing to failing. So don't let that happen. Turn in all of your daily assignments. And if you miss some, that's totally okay. Just turn them in when you're able to get caught up and when you get a chance. All right, so actually turning in or completing and turning in your work. So each assignment, each daily assignment that you have will be posted on the Google Classroom. Usually it'll be posted at 12:01 a.m. on that day, and it'll be due by 11:59 p.m. in the evening. There are a couple of different ways that you can do your work. I have online versions of all of the assignments available. So they're available either in a Google form, which is like an online form that you can fill out, or a Google Doc, which is just like a Word document, like a online paper that you can type in and then turn in. That's one way to do it. Some people don't like doing it on the computer. They prefer to do it like pen and paper style. Totally fine by me. That works for me. If you have a printer at home, you can print out the assignment and fill it in on your own. Or, like I know a lot of people do not have a printer at home, you can also just take a blank sheet of paper, make sure to label what assignment it is, put your name on it, and then write in your answers on the paper. As long as I can clearly see which questions you're answering with which answers, that is a totally valid way to complete your work as well. So you've got your worksheet filled out either online or on pen and paper, and you're ready to turn it in. there are a bunch of different ways that you can do it. If you did it online, then it's easy. You can hit the submit button on the Google form or the turn it in button on the Google Doc, and it'll automatically send me a message saying, hey, Nasima just turned in this worksheet. I'll be like, great. If you wrote it down, then take a picture of it on your phone, and you can upload the picture of your work to the Google Classroom under the assignment. That is the best way to do it. It's the easiest way for me to find it. You can also email your picture of your work to me, to my email, michael.stanley@goodwillexcel.org. You could also text me a picture of your work to my work phone number down here, 512-531-5457. That number not only sends a message to my computer, but also to my actual cell phone. So I'll be able to get it, look at it, and see that you turned in that assignment. Whichever way that you want to complete your work and whichever way works best for you for turning it in, works best for me. It's easiest if you do it all through Google Classroom, but I am more than happy to take it in whatever way that you want to submit it to me. Again, like I said, I only care that you get it turned in. I don't particularly care about how you do it or how you get it turned in. If I can read it and I can grade it, then that is the main thing that I'm concerned about. So either do it online or do it on paper and then submit it, or take a picture and send it to me. That's the best way to make sure that you complete and turn in all of your daily assignments. Alrighty, so before we move along to anything else, does anybody have any questions so far about attendance stuff, daily assignment stuff, completing or turning in work, anything that I've talked about so far that anybody has questions over? All right, I'm not hearing anything so far, so we will go ahead and move along. If you do think of a question that you want to ask, feel free to stop me. I know on the Google Meet, there's like the raise hand button that you're free to press and hold me up and ask me whatever it is that's on your mind. So up next, I wanted to talk a little bit about some of the stuff that we're going to be covering in Biology B this term. So the first thing that we're going to jump into is DNA. If you remember, if anybody took Biology A, you might remember we talked about cells, and the nucleus was really important for the cell because it had the DNA inside of it. To start off this class, we're going to be talking about why is the DNA so important? How exactly is DNA structured? And what is it that DNA does in terms of how does it copy itself in order to make new cells? And how does our cell read the code of the DNA in order to create things like proteins that our cell needs in order to function? So that's going to be probably the first week and a half or so of class, is looking at DNA and why it's so important for living things. We're then going to kind of naturally branch off from that and talk about meiosis and mitosis, or how a cell goes through the process of copying its DNA and splitting apart to create new cells. So we're still kind of talking about DNA a little bit, only now we're talking about it on a little bit bigger picture in terms of making new cells from old cells. We're then going to talk a little bit about genetics, or how genes, how important sections of your DNA are passed down sort of from generation to generation. So how is it that genetics works in sort of a very basic sense in terms of what sorts of traits that you have that you might inherit from your parents or pass on to your children and stuff like that. So then the last thing that we're going to kind of go into the final couple weeks is we're going to talk about evolution and classification. So sort of this tree of life idea of how all life on Earth has kind of developed over time from ancestors that have then become modified and changed over millions and millions of years to the species that we see today. We'll talk about some evidence for evolution, including shared structures between different animals. And we'll also talk about classification, which is how scientists kind of classify different groups of organisms. So how do scientists figure out how closely related different organisms are, and why is it important that each organism has this kind of unique scientific name that is different from any other species that is on the planet? So that'll be kind of the very end part of our class, is taking that idea of genetics and looking at it over millions and millions of years to see how all of our modern plants and animals have descended from more ancient ones, more kind of ancestral ones. What is that process like, and how does it happen? All right, so that's a little bit of introduction to Biology B. A couple other things that I wanted to go over with you guys before we wrap it up here for today. So like I said, your first daily assignment is this welcome email. So I want you guys all to send me an email if you haven't already. I know a lot of you guys have already got them sent in, which is great. But if you haven't already, send me an email, michael.stanley@goodwillexcel.org. And that'll be your first daily assignment. A lot of your daily assignments, here we're going to skip forward to the future a little bit. So a lot of your daily assignments will be presented in two different forms. So for example, on Monday, you guys have a syllabus quiz, which is a super simple 5-question quiz about some of the basic information about this class. So there is the Google Forms version, which is, most people like to do this version. It's very simple and easy to do on a computer and especially on a phone. It lists out all the questions and it gives you clear areas to answer them in. Sometimes there'll be short answers like this. Sometimes it'll be multiple choice questions or matching type questions. And then once you put in all the answers to the questions, you go down here and hit this submit button. Hit that button, two things happen. An email gets sent to me telling me, hey, Samyan just turned in the syllabus quiz. And I'll be like, awesome, Samyan gets attendance for Monday. You'll also get an email sent to your email account that says, hey, Ashley, here are all of your answers that you put for the questions on this assignment. And so it gives you a copy of your answers, so that when I tell you which questions that you got wrong, you can go back and look and see what the right answer was supposed to be. It also is a way to kind of double check and make sure that the submission goes through. Sometimes people get concerned. They're like, Mr. Stanley, I want to make sure that you got this. For the most part, I always do get the notification that you turned something in. But if I didn't get it, if something messed up and I'm like, I don't know if you actually did it or not, you have that email to say, no, I did do it. Look, here's the time that I got it turned in and here are all my answers for it. So it's a nice little backup that gets sent to you as well. So that's one option for completing your work for your daily assignments. It's really easy to do. One of the only downsides of doing it this way is that the Google form, this thing right here with the submit button, does not tell the Google Classroom when you have submitted it. So even though you've turned it into me, it might still show up on the Google Classroom as missing. That's okay, that's fine. I got the notice that you turned it in. I'm able to go back and look at your answers. It's not actually missing. But a lot of people feel better when they come back to the classroom and hit the turn in button just so that it says that you got it turned in. You can also do the Google Doc version. So the Google Docs is more like the Microsoft Word, kind of like a sheet of paper where you can go in and type in your answers just like as if you were writing them. So I do this version because I know some people like doing it this way better, and they don't like the Google Forms as much. And when you do it on the Google Doc, all you have to do is go back to the Google Classroom and hit turn in, and it'll submit this form to me, and I can hop on really easily and look at what all your answers are and give you a grade for them right there. Whichever way that you prefer doing, either the Google Doc version or the Google Form version, totally fine with me. It's just up to personal preference. Again, you can also always write down your answers on a sheet of paper and then take a picture and upload it or text it to me or whatever works best for you. But for pretty much every single daily assignment that we have throughout the course of the term, it'll be posted in the form and doc version. Occasionally, some of them will be you'll have to do it in Google Docs because it'll be like a big chart that you have to fill out, and Google Forms doesn't really let you do that very well. But most assignments have a form and doc version. You don't have to do both of them. They're the exact same thing. They're the exact same questions. It's just two different ways to do it for whichever one works best for you. All right, the one last thing that I wanted to mention is that our upcoming Thursday assignment is a little bit different than some of the other ones. So if you're here in term 4, if you took term 4 classes, you might have heard people talk about the Excel Center writing submissions. Every springtime around this time of year, the Excel Center wants us to collect writing samples from as many students as we can, and wants us to collect multiples of them. We like having it because it lets us kind of compare within student groups how people are doing, and also lets us compare over time people's writing ability and writing styles. And so the tricky thing about this is that we have to make sure that you aren't being helped by any sort of spell checker or autocomplete or anything like that. And so it's something that you have to do with the handwritten style. So I made this one just super, I think this is one of the last weeks that we're able to do it. So I just made this one super general and basis. So on a sheet of notebook paper, much like this one, I want you to handwrite a response to this prompt over here about your past experiences with science classes at the Excel Center. Have you taken any? Have you enjoyed learning a particular subject? Has there been anything that's especially difficult to understand or boring that you didn't really like learning about? And if you haven't taken any before, is there anything in this class that you're especially excited to learn about? So again, this is the Thursday assignment, so you'll see this posted Thursday morning. Couple things to remember with this. Number one is that on the top of your paper, you have to have your full name. So full first and last name. So if it was me, I'd write Michael Stanley. I can't write Michael S or MS or Michael, because the Excel Center, there's a lot of Michaels, maybe not as many Stanleys, but we have to have everybody's full name at the top. It makes it easier to find a specific paper. Number two, you also need to write the date at the top. So if you do this assignment on Thursday when it's assigned, then you'd write 4-8-21 at the top of your paper. So this is the only one that's going to be like this for this term. Again, it's just because the Excel Center is doing this big push to try and get teachers to collect these writing samples from students so that we can kind of keep track of people's writing over the time that they're here. So make sure you have your full name and date on it, and try your best to fill up like one full sheet of paper. So feel free to include any sort of details or examples or just talk in general about some of the stuff that you maybe liked or didn't like about science classes in your past. So even though this is Thursday's assignment, and I'll talk about it again a little bit on Thursday, I wanted to bring it up now just so that you're not like taken aback or confused when it gets posted Thursday morning. And you're like, what the heck is this? This doesn't look like anything Mr. Stanley talked about. Oh, also I want to mention, nobody is going to look at this and give you a grade on it. So these 5 points here, it means that if you turn it into me and you have your full name and the date at the top, you get 5 points free for getting it turned in. So nobody's going to look at it for grammar or spelling or like give you a grade back or let you know that you did a really bad job. We're literally just keeping them to compare with other types of writing from other students across the Excel Center. So don't worry about if you think your writing is bad. Especially, I got a lot of people last year when they turn them in, they'd be like, oh, sorry about my handwriting. And it was a perfectly legible piece of paper. If it was me, I would have to apologize for my handwriting because it is not good. I sometimes have to struggle a little bit to read it. So I promise your handwriting is better than mine and it's going to be totally fine. So as soon as you finish writing it, just take a picture on your phone and then text it to me, email it to me, upload it to the Google Classroom, whatever it works for you. But that'll be coming up on our Thursday daily assignment. Righty, so I think that just about wraps up most of the stuff that I wanted to mention. Make sure to check back tomorrow for your Wednesday daily assignment. It'll be very similar to the one from today, only instead of sending me an email, I want you to send me a text to my school number right here, 512-531-5457. Oh, last thing that I wanted to show off to you guys really quick. If you ever want to see the information that I went over in this class again, you can always look at the presentation that I went through, the Welcome to BioB notes. You can watch this video again, or if you want a short condensed version, you can look at the syllabus. Syllabus has a ton of good information on it, especially if you have, I don't know, a syllabus quiz coming up on Monday. So we have my name, my email, my phone number up all at the top. If you ever want to remind yourself what that is or you have to look it up, it's right there on the syllabus. It has the class days, so we meet Tuesdays and Thursdays from 5 to 6:30 p.m. Most days we aren't going to go all the way up till 6:30 p.m., but that is the time we are allotted. There's also the link down here if you ever have to find it and you can't get to it on the announcement page for whatever reason. Some stuff about biology, some stuff about Google Classroom. I think all of you guys are in the Google Classroom already, so good job on that. Again, another thing about attendance. So you're required to get that 80% attendance if you want to earn credit in the class. For our in-person days, you can always earn attendance by coming to class Tuesdays and Thursdays, starting at 5 o'clock. And then even though we don't meet on Monday and Wednesday, you still have to do those daily assignments on those days in order to get attendance. So just check your Google Classroom every day, finish that daily assignment, and you'll be guaranteed to be counted for attendance on that day. Again, you will not be automatically dropped. You will not earn it from the class. Again, if you miss more than 5 days, you'll be denied credit. They will not give you credit, even if you pass with a 99%. So just make sure that you're logging on, coming to as many of these Google Meets as possible, and doing your Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday daily assignments. It has a thing that I went over about turning in work, either online or printing it out or writing it down on a piece of paper, and then turning it in on Google Classroom, emailing it to me, or texting it to me. Last thing that I wanted to mention concerns grades. So for the most part, I'll be communicating with you about your grades on Google Classroom. So that's where I'll post how many points you earn from each assignment and where I'll leave a comment explaining what you got wrong and what the correct answer should have been. However, Google Classroom does not calculate your official grade for the class. That is done on Skyward. So if you want to know your current official grade in the class, kind of like where you stand in terms of do you have an A, a B, or a C in the class, in order to do that, you have to either check on Skyward, or you can always email me and ask, and I'll let you know your grade as well. Again, if you're not on Skyward yet, I would highly recommend that you get on it. It's an app that you can download on your phone, and your life coach will have the information to help you log in case you haven't done that yet or haven't done it in a while. And it has all of the attendance and grade information, the official attendance and grade information for all of the classes that you are taking this term. So it's a really good resource if you want to make sure that you're doing well on attendance and doing well in terms of your grade. So again, all your assignment grades will be posted up on Google Classroom, but it will not have your official class grade. You'll have to go to Skyward if you want to see that. All righty. And that is pretty much everything that I wanted to cover about how to be successful in biology class this term. Does anybody have any final questions about attendance, daily grades, Google Docs, Google Forms, anything that I've talked about so far on this first day here? Any questions?
Not for me. Thank you so much, Mr. Michael.
Sure thing, Nasima.
I'm good.
Cool. Thanks, Brandy. So again, right here in this class recordings area as well, I'll post the video from each class pretty soon after the class ends. So if you do miss a class or you just want to go back and rewatch something to make sure that you fully understand it, you can find it in the class recordings section of our Google Classroom, in the same area as you find your assignments and notes and stuff like that. All right.